I fell in a pit trap and the party moved on without me. Title explains it all. I was playing an elderly cleric, and I quite literally had fallen and could not get up due to a broken leg. The party cut their losses and moved on because there was no feasible way to rescue me. I understand moving on, but it's been 3 sessions since I fell, and they still haven't come back for me. Someone needs to tell this DM about long rests, and I'm pretty sure he can make one down here in this pit with no monsters around. Oh, long rests. With only 6 hours of sleep and 2 hours of uninterrupted activity, which you can apparently also walk for 59 minutes and 59 seconds for, you too can mend your split collarbone severed by a war axe. Fallen down a well with a broken leg? Do you have severed arteries and ligaments during your latest dungeon crawl? With long rest, you can fix any trauma with ease, miraculously fixing your pummeled fighter, who was beaten into unconsciousness 12 times in a fight against an Iron Golem's 3d10 sword. With long rests, adventuring is a breeze. Simply tell your DM,
in page 186 of the player's handbook, it says I can restore all of my hit points by taking—
Jesus fucking Christ, Jimmy! You know I don't read! Just do whatever it says and shut up already. God, you always do this! It's the player's handbook. My name is Jacob Crow, and welcome to the Crow's Perch, where each week, I delve into the deepest recesses of r/RPG horror stories to find the worst stories imaginable, before chewing them for you and force-feeding them down your throat. Platonically, of course. But before we dive into today's video, I would first like to thank this week's sponsor, Friends and Dragons. Waiting on your next D&D game with nothing to do except making your 20th Tiefling Rogue? Then try Friends and Dragons. Friends and Dragons is a new mobile game that combines puzzles and strategy in a rich fantasy world, where you battle alongside your fellow heroes to take down baddies and score fat loot. And speaking of heroes, Friends and Dragons offers more than 150 heroes to collect, like the powerful assassin Agatha, or my personal favorite, the deadly ranger Ariane. And if that's not all, you can also equip them with items and upgrade their skills to make short work of even the baddest dragon in town. But sometimes it's nice to get a little extra help. And in Friends and Dragons' unique co-op system, you can bring your game night buddies along for the ride. Short for company? Why not join a guild to find some friends instead? You can chat and group up with players from across the world, teaming up together to tackle tough challenges for fantastic rewards. And speaking of guilds, you can find me and my own guild, Crow's Perch, in the game, in case you need a little extra help from the bird. And you're gonna need it if you're gonna challenge the brand new Chase the Dragon event, where you'll be facing off against rampaging orcs in ever more challenging dungeons to take on Bloodfang, the evil red dragon brood, and score a sweet new high-level hero. You can download Friends and Dragons now from my links, or scan the QR code on the screen, and get a special bonus of 1 free hero summon, daily energy potions, and free gold, as well as an exclusive offer, available via my link only. So what are you waiting for? Dive headfirst into Friends and Dragons today, and I'll see you in the dungeon. And now, back to the video. In today's story, we cover a story about a couple so horrible they nearly made the original poster of this story quit Dungeons & Dragons forever. So, without further ado, let's attempt to relate to this story by inviting your totally real goth GF to join in your next game as we... oh, who am I kidding? We all know you're maidenless.
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
So anyway, let's gather up a murder and dive right into this story. I decided to share one last RPG horror story from my local game store with you. For those of you who haven't read my other stories, I used to DM at a local gaming store whose owner was, and still is, a really good friend of mine. I met a bunch of really great friends there, but also some really toxic people, from Karens to toxic douchebags. The characters for this story, names changed of course. Jimmy, that guy. Tina, his girlfriend, and yours truly. This story can be divided into 2 parts, in-game and out-of-game. Also, content warning for domestic abuse. Part 1. In-game. Beware of a slight spoiler for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. It all started in 2019. I was running Curse of Strahd at the local game store. A guy named Jimmy showed up at the store and wanted to play in the campaign. Since this was an open table, I told him that if he could write up a level 7 character, he was good to go, which he did. It might have been the most power-gamed Hexblade I've ever seen in my life. He actually managed to crit the boss of the dungeon to death. In October, I decided to run Descent into Avernus since it was a new campaign, and the store owner wanted to do a promotion. Jimmy also took part in that campaign. He decided to play a lawful good, important later, Knowledge Cleric, human variant, with the lucky feat. At a later part in the campaign, he also took a luck stone for himself. After a few sessions, we arrived in the Nine Hells. The group ran into an imp trying to scam a halfling for his soul. Jimmy takes the stage. He attacked the imp and threatened him with death, since that is permanent in the Nine Hells. So he forced the imp to serve him, which he did, but only if he signed away his soul. I took note of all that for later. After that, they went into a cathedral. Right in the middle of the cathedral is a glowing greatsword that is lying on a sarcophagus, with a very obvious religious meaning for the inhabitants. His character straight up stole it, without even batting an eye. Lawful good, remember? The sword was important for the plot later, but at that point, his character didn't know that. His justification, his character is fascinated by everything divine, so he just wanted to save the sword from devils. Keep this in mind for later, because to me, it seemed like he just wanted to get a magic item before anyone else in the group could. So at this point, our lawful good cleric had already bullied a lesser devil into serving him and committed grave robbery. After a few more sessions, it also became very obvious that Jimmy had main character syndrome. He was a stage hog, not helped by the fact that all the other players in the group were D&D newbies and a bit shy. He also started telling the players, especially the wizard, how to play their characters, so his character would be more powerful. So he basically saw the group as his support and nothing more. A few sessions later, the group met a pit fiend. Jimmy instantly went into bartering mode. He wanted Belle to give him the knowledge of a spell not on the cleric list. He tried to get that by persuading the pit fiend to give it to him, without signing a soul contract. I told him he could try, but it wouldn't work anyway. He rolled a 27, and got pissed at me for still denying him his one spell. I told him if he wanted that spell so bad, he could multiclass. He also didn't want that. I also told him that he had already had a soul contract with the imp, which he firmly and aggressively denied. No, he had not signed a soul contract. The imp is serving him because he bullied him into it. Yes, he actually said that. Anywho, Jimmy got pissed because his persuasion check wasn't mind control. At the end of the campaign, he wanted the powerful artifact the players can get for himself, not even asking if any of the other players wanted it. He started to really annoy me in-game, but I still kept him around since out of game, he was very nice. Part 2. Out of game trouble. During the time we played the campaign, I also met Jimmy's girlfriend, Tina. She told me Jimmy is always insanely competitive, no matter what, be it board games, pen and paper, or friggin' foosball table soccer. The way she said it, I think she found it endearing. But who am I to judge? A few weeks after meeting Tina, the pandemic starts. Jimmy loses his job, and starts drinking more than usual. He also stops looking for a new job. At that point, his day only consists of drinking beer, smoking weed, and obsessively reading anything 5e related. We continue playing the store campaign online. The weirdest part during this, Tina would sometimes call me just to bitch about her love life. Mind you, at this point, I had only met this woman twice. Since I thought Jimmy was my friend, I thought to myself that being supportive is okay. Big mistake. After finishing Descent into Avernus, I wanted to start Dragon Heist. 10 minutes before the campaign starts, Tina calls me. She's very drunk and sobbing. She tells me she and Jimmy broke up, but I get the feeling from her tone that something is off. 3 sessions into the campaign, Jimmy and I still hung around Discord just to chat. Tina came into his room and started yelling. I could hear all of it. The most dramatic thing I heard was Tina yelling, "I'm going to call OP and tell him that you're a psycho!" During this time, I get sent voicemails. Again, more love life problems, and one where she basically says her boyfriend is cheating on her with Dungeons and Dragons. She was dead fucking serious. I wish I was making this up. A few weeks later, she called me after a period of radio silence. I told her that I am really worried about Jimmy. I thought that he was living a very unhealthy lifestyle, mentally and physically. I also told her that his playstyle actually makes me and the group have a lot less fun playing. And yes, I have communicated the D&D stuff to him as well, but he refused to hear any of it, saying that's just the way he is. This entire situation got me so pissed off that I decided to quit the Dragon Heist campaign after 5 sessions. I also had enough of D&D in general, and almost quit. Fast forward to August 2020. Jimmy calls me, tells me that he had a big fight with Tina. She told him all the stuff I told her in confidence, but she twisted it around to make me seem shifty. Basically, he said, Tina said you called me a pedantic drunkard, and that's the reason I'm not playing D&D with him anymore. I told him exactly what I told her, that I'm worried. He said I shouldn't worry. The next day, I actually realized how shifty this entire situation was. They dragged me into their toxic relationship, treated me like a dear Abby, and pulled me right in the middle of their fights. So I decided to cut them out, blocked them now, and started an entirely new group. We have been playing for almost 2 years now. The one good thing that came out of this, Jimmy taught me the importance of saying no. There's quite a bit to unpack, so let's start with Jimmy. Jimmy's got issues that are better solved with professional help than with a board game with friends. He's got some rage, and he's clearly got some self-resentment, and while I understand both of those issues personally, this is definitely not the place for it, especially since he seems to channel this into controlling the party into doing whatever the hell he wants, and making them take the back seat. As for Tina, let's start here. My boyfriend is playing D&D with his nerd buddies is not equivalent to my boyfriend is cheating on me. She also seems to be some kind of drama baiter, considering how she twisted the OP's words when the two of them chatted about Jimmy. I kinda want to say these two deserve each other and just leave it at that, but they clearly both need to take a step back and look at themselves honestly for a minute. And finally, as for the OP, oh, don't worry, I didn't forget about you. Descent into Avernus kinda sucks, so that's the real horror story. Except for Lulu, I stand for Lulu. And if any of you little shits flock around with my tiny angel elephant friend, I'll peck out your eyes. She's precious, and no one can hurt her except me. So anyway, that's it for today's stories, and those were my thoughts. And I'd love to see what your thoughts are about today's stories in the comments section down below. Also, if you liked this video, be sure to drop a like on this video, and subscribe to the channel as we transition into Art of the Week. Art of the Week! This week's Art of the Week by user Crazy on the Crow's Perch Discord made a delightful small chibi crow. I really don't have much to say other than it's precious and you should make it the BBG of your next campaign. Evil chibi crow be like,
one day you will have to answer for your actions, and God may not be so merciful.
Thank you to user Crazy once again for your art. And if you would like to submit some of your own art for a chance of appearing on next week's Art of the Week, simply make your submission on the Crow's Perch Discord channel in the art section, and none of this would be possible without the support of my patrons, like my burbs, Reuven Gritters, and Shepdog. Oh, but honey, you almost forgot the counts of Quills.
I didn't forget shit, you old bitch.
I'm just trying to remind you.
I don't need to be reminded of anything, except for, oh, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, the counts of Quills, like Evix, King Drazil, Christian Pipp, Cosmosis, Kooky Spooks, Rykis, Vincent, Mexican, Haley,
Thompson,
yeah, Zerofang, and Netscape Navigator.
If you or a loved one have paid recently into the Patreon, you could pay more, like our Barons of Beaks, like Jake Sine, AModestPastry, Jester King, Gintahl, Misfit, Gibber-Woods, Wormy, Matthew Mulqueeny, Den of the Drake, McYeetly, and Anja. How about an infomercial? Martini, linguini, bikini, whatever the slap-chop guy said. Anyway, Dukes of Feathers, like Jad Zemlin, Staniel Das Boot, Henna, General Constantine Chase, insane, crazy. HappyRex, you pay $10, that's insane. Stevie, Dark Salty 96, and of course, Acroth. Just know that you pay for this shit. That's gotta be worth it, right? And if you would also like to waste your money by giving it to a pretend bird on the internet, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Every dollar gets me one step closer to being able to tell my girlfriend that this is what I do as a side hustle without being embarrassed. And with all of that out of the way, I will see you next time. As the crow flies.